Liam had always believed that some people were just born with the magic to speak well, to connect, to walk into a room and make others feel like they mattered. He didn't think. He was one of those people. At 27, he worked as a technician in a large corporate firm, quietly fixing computers and printers while avoiding small talk like it was a dangerous sport. Most days he ate lunch alone, earphones in, eyes down. But what nobody knew was that Liam wanted more. He wanted to be noticed, to lead, to be the kind of person who could walk into a room and have people actually look up and listen. His moment came unexpectedly one Monday morning when the IT manager resigned. And Liam, as the most experienced person left on the team, was told to run the department for 2 weeks while a replacement was found. The announcement wasn't grand, just a quick email from HR. But it changed something inside him. He stared at the screen and said aloud, "This is my chance." That evening, he searched YouTube for tips on public speaking and communication. One of the top results was a calm, well-paced video titled "How to Talk to Anyone," book summary. The voice was slow and clear, perfect for learners, and it spoke directly to Liam's hidden fears and silent hopes. Most people are not born confident, the narrator said. They build confidence through small, repeatable behaviors. Liam took notes. Lots of them. Smile first. Use names. Ask open-ended questions. Listen more than you speak. Mirror the other person's tone. These felt simple, maybe too simple, but they were doable. The next morning, instead of walking straight to his desk, Liam stopped by the receptionist and said, "Good morning, Amelia. How was your weekend?" Her eyes lit up. "It was nice. Thank you. Yours?" It lasted less than 10 seconds, but Liam walked away grinning. He had broken his own pattern. At lunch, instead of heading to his usual corner, he stood near the break room table and asked a colleague, "Mind if I join you?" The man, Carlos from marketing, smiled and said, "Sure, pull up a chair." Liam asked Carlos about his work, nodded as he listened, and used phrases he had just learned. "That's interesting. Tell me more. And how did that go?" To his surprise, Carlos seemed genuinely pleased to talk. The next day, Liam tried again with someone new, and then again the day after. Within a week, people began greeting him first. "Hey Liam, how's IT?" "Liam, can I ask you something about my laptop?" These weren't deep conversations, but they were more than silence. During the temporary manager role, Liam had to lead the Monday stand-up meeting. His palms sweated, his heart pounded, and he nearly backed out. But then he remembered another tip. Speak slowly and smile before you say your first word. He entered the meeting room, stood at the front, and said, "Good morning, everyone. I'll keep this short and useful." He paused. No one interrupted. "Let's start with system updates. Everything ran smoothly over the weekend, and we've applied the new patches to finance and HR." As he continued, something shifted inside him. He felt calm, even capable. The meeting ended, and one of the senior managers said, "Good job, Liam. Clear and quick. I like that." Liam felt like he had just conquered Everest. That evening, he returned to the video and rewatched it, absorbing more advanced tips: how to handle awkward silences, how to give compliments that feel sincere, how to maintain eye contact without being weird. He practiced in front of the mirror. He rehearsed introductions. He timed himself explaining technical things in simple language. Soon, he wasn't just following the tips. He was living them. On Friday, the department had a small team-building event. In the past, Liam would have avoided it completely. But this time, he showed up, made small talk, laughed at jokes, and even introduced himself to the new intern, saying, "Hi, I'm Liam. If you ever need help with anything tech-related, I'm your guy." The intern smiled and said, "Thanks. First day nerves are real." Liam replied, "They get better. I used to panic just ordering coffee." That honest comment sparked laughter and broke the tension. Something about being real, he noticed, made people lean in. That night, Liam sat on his bed, notebook open, and wrote at the top of a fresh page, "Talking is a skill. Skills can be learned. I'm learning." He then wrote all the names of people he had spoken to that week. There were 12. That was 12 more than usual. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Amelia. "Thanks again for fixing my screen. You've been really approachable lately. Keep it up." Liam smiled at the screen, then looked up at the ceiling. For the first time, he didn't feel invisible. The following week brought new challenges. With the IT manager role still vacant, Liam was asked to join the weekly leadership meeting. These meetings were held in a glass-walled room on the top floor, a space Liam had only entered once to fix a projector. Now he was expected to sit there, speak among department heads, and give updates like he belonged. On the morning of the meeting, Liam wore his best shirt, practiced deep breathing, and reviewed his talking points. As he walked into the room, he smiled politely and greeted each person by name. "Morning, Diane. Hi, Steve. Nice to see you, Raj." That single action made him feel slightly more confident. When it was his turn to speak, he remembered the book's advice. Don't rush. Your words matter more when you pause. He started with a calm, "This week, we resolved 16 technical requests, mostly involving slow systems and access resets. We've also deployed the backup system as scheduled." He paused and made brief eye contact with the head of operations, who nodded. "One thing to note, we've started receiving multiple requests for software updates that aren't company approved. I recommend we review the current whitelist policy." There was a short silence. Then Diane, the HR director, said, "Good catch. Can you prepare a short report on that for next week?" Liam nodded. "Absolutely." After the meeting, as he gathered his notes, Steve from finance clapped him on the shoulder. Clear communicator. I like that. Those two words, clear communicator, looped in Liam's mind all afternoon. That evening, he reflected on what made today different. The answer wasn't magic. It was preparation. Rehearsing his lines, using names, smiling first, staying calm. All tips from a video meant for English learners that somehow had turned into a survival manual for life. That night, he opened the same video again, this time with a different purpose. He wanted to internalize the ideas, make them part of him. He replayed the part that said, "Charisma is the ability to make others feel important." He thought about that sentence deeply. What if the secret to good communication wasn't about talking at all, but about making others feel seen? The next day, Liam tried something new. He went to the marketing floor and offered help with a campaign system that was running slow. It wasn't his direct responsibility, but he said, "I've got some time. Want me to take a look?" Sarah from marketing looked surprised but grateful. "That would be amazing. We've been stuck for days." While working on her computer, Liam asked about the project. Sarah explained, and Liam responded with curiosity, not just politeness. "That sounds exciting. How do you decide which ad to show?" The conversation flowed easily, and when he left, she said, "You know, I didn't realize IT folks could be this chill." He laughed and said, "We have layers, like onions or parfaits." It was a silly joke, but it made her laugh, and that mattered. Later that day, his temporary manager email account received a message from the director. "Liam, are you available to present our digital security plan to the board next Thursday? I've heard great things about your clarity and approach." Liam read the email twice, then 3 times. Present to the board of directors? He almost declined, but then opened his notebook and read his own handwriting from a week ago. "Skills can be learned. I'm learning." He clicked reply and typed, "Yes, I'd be honored to present." The next 5 days were a blur of preparation. He used every trick he had learned, writing short, powerful lines, practicing aloud with a timer, recording his voice to check his tone. He even stood in front of the mirror to rehearse eye contact and smiling. On the morning of the presentation, he felt fear, of course. But fear no longer meant stop. It meant focus. As he entered the sleek boardroom with its long glass table and 12 sharp-eyed executives, he greeted each person with a handshake and a smile. "Good morning, I'm Liam from IT. Thank you for your time today." He took a deep breath and began. "I'd like to show you 3 simple ways we're improving digital security and why it matters for every department in this company." He kept his pace slow, his words clear, and used visuals with minimal text, another tip from the book. When he was done, the CEO leaned forward and said, "That was excellent. Straightforward, confident, and useful. Well done." Liam nodded, trying not to grin too widely. As he left the room, He felt taller, not just because of the compliments, but because he had broken another wall, one that had lived inside him for years. That evening, he didn't watch a new video. He didn't rehearse. Instead, he went for a walk, thinking about how far he'd come. He remembered the first time he had watched that video, notebook in hand, afraid to speak to anyone. And now here he was, presenting to the board, leading meetings, making people laugh. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was connecting. By now, Liam had become someone people noticed, not because he was loud, but because he made others feel heard. His temporary role was extended another month, and people across departments began seeking him out, not just for tech help, but for advice and collaboration. One afternoon, while walking through the break room, he saw two junior employees whispering nervously near the coffee machine. He heard one say, "I wish I knew how to talk in meetings like Liam." The words caught him by surprise. He wanted to turn and say, "I used to be just like you." Instead, he smiled silently and walked on, realizing that the perception of him had changed. That evening, he added a new page to his notebook. At the top, he wrote, "Teach what you learn." Then he began outlining a simple guide, just for himself at first, on how to grow confident in conversation. He called it Start with Hello. It had 10 points. 1. Smile first. 2. Use names. 3. Ask simple questions. 4. Pause and listen. 5. Use open body language. 6. Find common ground. 7. Mirror energy, not words. 8. Speak less, mean more. 9. Compliment sincerely. 10. End with kindness. Over the weekend, he turned that guide into a one-page PDF and printed a few copies. On Monday morning, he pinned one to the break room board with a note. For anyone who wants to talk better, not louder, Liam. He didn't expect much, but within 2 hours, someone from HR came to his desk and said, "That guide is brilliant. Can we use it in our new employee training pack?" Liam blinked. Yes, of course. Later that week, a senior manager named Priya from the training division invited him to speak briefly during a staff onboarding session. "Just tell them your story," she said. "How you learned to connect. Keep it light and honest." Liam agreed, although his stomach tightened at the thought. But when the day came, he stood before the group of fresh faces and said, "Hi, I'm Liam. I work in IT. And 2 months ago, I could barely say that sentence out loud." The room chuckled, and he smiled. "I used to believe that some people were born confident, and others just weren't. Turns out talking to people is a skill, and like any skill, it starts with practice." For 10 minutes, he told them how he had once been quiet and afraid of meetings, how a single YouTube video had started his journey, and how small actions had turned into big results. When he ended with, "Start with hello. Everything good that happened to me started with that," the room clapped. It wasn't wild applause, but it was real, and that made it special. Afterward, 3 of the new hires came up to thank him. "That really helped," one said. "I thought I was the only one who gets nervous just saying good morning." That night, Liam realized something else. He had been so focused on learning how to talk to others that he hadn't noticed he was now teaching others how to talk. His transformation wasn't just internal anymore. It was visible, helpful, and inspiring. Encouraged by the response, he decided to start a small internal newsletter for soft skills and communication tips. He called it The Quiet Voice. Every Friday, he sent out one tip, one personal story, and one practice challenge. In the first issue, he shared, "This week's challenge: start 3 conversations with someone new. They don't have to be deep, just real." By the second week, 20 employees had subscribed. By the fourth, it was nearly 100. He didn't promote it. Word spread quietly, just like he had. The director of people operations sent him a message. "Liam, I've been reading your tips. They're outstanding. Have you considered making it part of official staff development?" Liam smiled at the screen. He hadn't, but now he was. Over the next few weeks, he started building short sessions. Listening 101, confident speaking for quiet people, and how to start conversations when you feel awkward. These were optional, but sign-ups filled quickly. During one session, a young intern named Marwa raised her hand and asked, "Liam, how did you go from avoiding people to training them?" Liam thought for a moment, then said, "By failing slowly and getting back up even slower, and also by realizing everyone feels awkward. The ones who get better are just the ones who practice more." The group nodded, some smiled, and a few wrote that line down. It was simple truth, but powerful. That evening, after a long day, Liam found himself once again watching that original video, the same "How to Talk to Anyone" summary that had started everything. He didn't need the tips now, but he watched it to remember, to stay grounded. As the narrator said, connection is not about impressing. It's about making others feel safe with you. Liam paused the video and whispered, "Yes, that's it." He thought about where he used to be, silent, invisible, afraid, and where he stood now, respected, growing, and still learning. He didn't have it all figured out, but he had something better: the ability to reach people, to speak simply, and to remind others that confidence isn't a trait. It's a choice practiced daily. One morning, about 3 months after his transformation began, Liam received a calendar invite from the company's vice president. It simply said, "Coffee and chat, 20 mins." Liam stared at it. He had never even spoken directly to the VP, a woman named Evelyn known for her strategic thinking and intense work ethic. At the appointed time, he walked into her office, heart thumping quietly but steadily. She smiled as she gestured to the chair opposite her desk. "Liam," she said, "you've been quite the topic lately." "I hope in a good way," he said. trying to sound casual. She chuckled. In a very good way. You've become more than IT support. You've become a communicator, a connector. I read your newsletter. It's practical, warm, and smart. We need more of that. Liam nodded, not knowing how to respond. Evelyn continued, I want to create a cross-department communication initiative, especially for staff who struggle with visibility and expression. You clearly understand that experience. Would you be open to leading that project? Liam blinked. Lead as in design the program? Yes, Evelyn said, with full support from HR and training, and you'd have my backing. Liam swallowed hard. He had never imagined being trusted with something like this. I'd be honored, he said, and meant it. That evening, Liam opened his notebook and wrote, From silence to structure, from fixing wires to connecting humans. He spent the next few days sketching a plan. The program would be called Bridge. It would help employees who felt overlooked or unheard gain communication tools, build confidence, and develop presence. There would be workshops, small group coaching, real-time role plays, and even storytelling sessions. In the first pilot group, Liam noticed a young analyst named Naveed, who reminded him a lot of his old self. Head down, voice low, brilliant mind, but invisible. Liam made it a point to sit with him during breaks, ask him about his role, and gently encourage him to speak up during discussions. It doesn't have to be perfect, Liam told him during one session. Start small. One sentence, one question, one handshake. That's all it takes. By the fourth week, Naveed was confidently explaining his data reports during meetings. When he received praise from his team lead, he looked at Liam and smiled, an unspoken thank you in his eyes. Liam realized that this, more than software, more than emails, was his true calling, to unlock the quiet voices, to help others find what he had once lost in himself. Word spread fast. Within weeks, Bridge had a wait list. Managers were asking if their entire teams could attend. Liam began training others to help him deliver the sessions. He turned his notes and personal lessons into a small manual called Talk Tools, which became part of the internal leadership library. One day, while cleaning his apartment, Liam stumbled across the original notebook he had started with, the one filled with notes from the YouTube video. He flipped through the old pages, past underlined phrases like use names, pause before you speak, and smile with your eyes. At the very end, on a blank page, he had scribbled, Imagine being the kind of person people come to for advice on how to speak. He chuckled. I guess I am now. That night, inspired by the moment, Liam sat down and opened his laptop. For the first time, he visited the comment section of the video that had changed his life. He scrolled past hundreds of grateful learners from around the world, then paused and wrote, This video helped me change my life. I used to be the quietest person in the room. Now I lead company communication workshops and mentor others like me. Thank you for making this content. You reached further than you'll ever know. He hit post. He didn't expect a reply, but just writing it made him feel complete, like a circle had closed. Over the next few months, the company recognized his work formally. He received the Leadership in Culture and Communication Award, and his program was adopted as part of employee onboarding. One morning, as he walked into the same break room he used to hide in, a new hire tapped him on the shoulder and said, "You're Liam, right? The communication guy? I loved the session. It gave me the courage to speak up yesterday during our team call." Liam smiled and said, "That's awesome. Speaking up is where change starts." The new hire asked, "How did you get so good at this?" Liam replied with a laugh, "By being bad at it for a long time and not giving up." It became his unofficial catchphrase. Every time someone asked for advice, he'd say, "Talk badly until you talk better." The beauty of communication, he had learned, wasn't in speaking perfectly. It was in showing up, in listening, in trying again. In time, Liam was invited to speak at industry events and webinars. His presentation style remained simple. No jargon, no flashy visuals, just real stories, honest struggles, and practical steps. People resonated with that. During one event, a participant asked, "What's the most important communication rule?" Liam thought for a moment and said, "Make the other person feel like they matter. That's it. Do that, and you'll never be forgotten." That answer became quoted in articles and reposted on social media. But to Liam, it wasn't about being quoted. It was about staying true. He never saw himself as an expert, just someone who started by saying hello and kept going. Liam's name eventually traveled beyond his company. A learning consultant who attended one of his webinars wrote an article titled, "From Tech to Talk: How One Quiet Man Changed Workplace Communication." The story was shared widely on LinkedIn, sparking thousands of reactions. One comment read, "This gives me hope. I'm a quiet person too. Maybe I can change like Liam did." Another said, "We need this in our company. Where can I learn more?" Liam received dozens of connection requests, interview invitations, and messages from people around the world. Some wanted advice, others wanted to thank him, and a few asked if he could run sessions for their teams. It felt surreal. He often returned to his small apartment after work, sat by the window with a cup of tea, and tried to take it all in. The world hadn't changed overnight, but he had. And now, he was changing it back, one voice at a time. Despite all the growth, Liam remained grounded. He still responded to IT support tickets, still joined team lunches, still sent out his quiet voice tips every Friday. The only difference was the reach. His Friday tips now went to over 2,000 employees across departments and partner offices. In one of his newsletters, he wrote, "You don't need to be loud to be powerful. People speak softly and carry clarity. Don't chase noise. Practice presence." That quote was printed and pinned to multiple office walls, even translated into 3 other languages. Then, something unexpected happened. The creator of the original, How to Talk to Anyone video, whose content had started Liam's journey, reached out. Her name was Julia, and she was an English teacher from the UK who had launched the channel to help global learners improve both language and life skills. Her message said, "Hi, Liam. Someone shared your story with me. I'm speechless. Would you be open to a video call? I'd love to hear more, and maybe even feature your journey for our community." Liam hesitated. He had told his story many times, but never on video. Never to the person who unknowingly helped him transform. But he said yes. The call was scheduled for a Saturday morning. Liam wore a simple button-up shirt, set his webcam at a good angle, and took a few deep breaths before clicking join. The screen lit up, and there was Julia, smiling, warm, and clearly moved. "I feel like I already know you," she said. "But hearing this from your own voice means even more." For the next hour, Liam told her everything. How he had once paused the video every few seconds to write notes. How he had practiced in elevators and hallways. How he had turned lessons into real-life actions. Julia listened, sometimes smiling, sometimes wiping away a tear. When the call ended, she said, "Liam, your story proves what I always hoped, that even a simple voice, shared clearly, can echo far." A week later, Julia uploaded a titled, "The Student Who Spoke Back, A True Story of Change." It included clips from their call, highlights of Liam's programs, and even screenshots of his original notebook, which he had scanned and shared. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of learners from over 50 countries commented, "I am like Liam. This gives me strength. I've watched this video 5 times already. Liam, if you read this, thank you." He read every comment. Some made him smile. Others made him tear up. One particular comment stayed with him. "I've always been afraid of speaking. But if someone like Liam could turn fear into strength, maybe I can too." Today, I said hello to my manager for the first time in 3 months. That single comment reminded Liam why this mattered. Not for fame, not for recognition, but for that one person who needed just a little hope. 6 months later, Liam stood in front of a large conference audience. It was a professional development summit, and he was the closing speaker. His presentation was titled, "Small Voice, Big Change." He began with the same words he had used in his very first staff session. "Hi, I'm Liam. I work in IT, and there was a time I couldn't say that sentence without panic." The audience laughed gently, and he continued, "But I learned something. Talking is a skill. Confidence is a process. And connection is the reward." He told the full story, his journey, the stumbles, the shifts, and the little wins that led to big change. He ended with a message that would echo far beyond the room. If you are someone who doubts your voice, please remember, the world doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. Start with hello. That's where everything beautiful begins. The standing ovation was long and loud. Liam stood quietly, smiling, not for the applause, but for the silent acknowledgement from people who had once felt like him. He wasn't just a better communicator now. He was a bridge, a guide, a voice for the once voiceless. And so, from a quiet seat in the IT department, inspired by a simple video made to help English learners, Liam's voice traveled across companies, continents, and hearts. Not because he shouted, but because he showed up, spoke simply, and never stopped trying.